Yeah. And then we'll go live. Preparation.
My dog. Want a dog? You have a pit bull in France.
Oh gosh, no.
He's been peeing in the house and stuff.
Oh no.
He's old.
Okay. I think we're good. Sweet. I think we're live. Hey guys.
Hello.
Happy Friday. I hope you're having an amazing day. I did some self-care today, got my nails done, got a massage, had a cappuccino. It was like best day. But you got to do that sometimes, right? So today we have Katie on, and let me pull up my documents so I can be like actually uber organized. So Katie is a licensed CPA with over 10 years. Girlfriend, you look like you're like 20 of tax and accounting experience. She's also a stay-at-home mom of two adorable toddlers with a bookkeeping business, and she's about to launch a new online course about how to understand and organize your business so they know how to save time and reduce their risk. Girl, I'm so happy that you're here. She's also a student in the Impact Blogging Academy. So let's just start off by you telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in business.
Well, you covered the most important things, which is that I'm here with my two toddlers all the time. I have a 14-month-old little girl and a boy who's going to be 3 in January, and they keep me busy. But aside from that, I do have 10 years of tax and accounting experience. I've been a CPA now for, I think, about 5-6 years, have experience in CPA firms. And a few years ago, when I was pregnant with my son, I left corporate. I actually got this weird package that was offered to anyone who was with the company for more than 5 years. So it was a great thing for me at that time in my life, about to have a child, and I took it. Otherwise, I probably never would have left. I really liked my job and the people that I worked with, but I was punching a time clock. I was working 9 to 5 for someone else. And then I got pushed out, had my son, and focused on him for 6 months, a year. And during that time, people kept coming to me and saying they're starting up businesses, they need a little bit of help. And they were people that I knew in my life. So I said yes. I like to say yes to things. And before I knew it, I had a decent bookkeeping practice while being home with my kids. My sister started selling for Rodan and Fields in the beginning of the year, and I had a conversation I normally would shy away from with friends and family about how she should handle the number side of her business. And from that conversation, I realized that while this stuff really is simple, it's not that intuitive to people who don't have the experience or aren't numbers people. And I realized so many people are starting up businesses. I'm a huge supporter of it. And I want them to know what to do on the tax and accounting side so that they don't get into trouble and that they can really amplify their success. Because now that I'm out of corporate, I'm so thankful that I had that opportunity to live life on my own terms. And I want that so badly for everyone else.
Awesome. Cool. Let's dive in. So, why should entrepreneurs be excited about the number side of their business?
Yeah, a lot of people shy away from this topic, and it can be so empowering. That is the word that I like to use when talking about it, because while it's intimidating at first, once you get in, you get the good habits and you start actually looking at your numbers, you can see where you can save money. You can also see maybe you're just doing awesome. I like to go in and see like what my last 90 days was like. And sometimes I'm impressed. I don't realize how well I'm doing. And that can be so great. And then you can take that and say, I want the next 3 months to be even better than the last. So it's the reason we're in business is really to make money. Otherwise we wouldn't be calling it a business. So you can open the lid and look at what's going on and use those numbers to figure out where you can make improvements and where you can start to earn more.
So good. So, I could have used you was like 4 years ago. So in my network marketing business, I was clueless. I was like a brand new entrepreneur, and my income increased from $20,000 one year to $80,000 the next year. And I did not know I needed to like actually save and pay taxes on that increase. I was just listening to what my tax person said of pay quarterly based off of what you earned the previous year. And so that's what I was doing. And I didn't even like, it didn't even dawn on me that I needed to actually save more. Now, like
Yeah.
looking back, I'm like, you were an idiot. But I ended up having a $12,000 tax bill that year,
Right.
which sucked.
And so there
I
are
mean,
some
quality
ways,
problem.
right. There are some ways that you could reduce the bill if you're starting to earn a lot of money. You could be an S corp, but you have to have taken the right steps to at least get yourself in the position where you can turn into an S corp. Sometimes you can make that decision later. This starts to get a little technical, but sometimes you can make that decision after the year is done. But there's things you would have needed to do to make it possible. And other times, it's not so much going to reduce the amount of tax you're paying, but it will lessen penalties and interest, and it will hurt less if you're paying in the right amount and you can budget correctly. Because you know, what I see a lot of people do when they're in that position is the money has already been spent, reinvested, or spent. And so while you earned it and you really do owe that in taxes, it hurts to come up with it all at once at the end of the year. And what's even worse is when you've extended your return, not paid, and now you're almost 2 years into this cycle of not having enough money to pay your tax bill. So it's all about good habits and getting started from the beginning so that you're ahead of it, that you're not piling up underneath you with tax bills that you can't afford now with penalties and interest you could have avoided.
Totally. I learned my lesson, and now I could tell you, I have like spreadsheets that I know exactly how much I earned, how much I spent every single month for the entire year. So it makes like end of year taxes and everything so much easier because I know my numbers and I have money set aside based off of those numbers.
Exactly.
I learned the hard way.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And it started with network marketing. It
Yeah.
started with my sister and me realizing she was self-employed. I think that a lot of people start up these gigs and don't even realize that they're self-employed or what that even means, because you do have more taxes when you're self-employed and a lot more responsibility. You have to manage it. So while when you get a paycheck, it hurts because this huge chunk is taken out for you. It is being managed for you for the most part. So it's much easier that way. And what a lot of people don't know is your employer is paying in 7.5% of your wages. They're paying that. You don't pay it. They pay it for you. And when you don't have them anymore, you are the employer and the IRS wants that money from you. So you have to just know it's there. I personally think that the 7.5% is worth being my own boss, but you have to know and be prepared for the fact that you have to deal with it now.
For sure, for sure. So what are some tips on how to keep everything just simple?
Yeah, so I have 4 main tips on how to keep it simple, and they are easy to implement tips. The first is, I talk about it all the time, it's just to separate your business and your personal funds, 2 separate bank accounts. It's easy. But a lot of people don't do this. And when you don't do it, you get yourself into a mess because you have one bank account, or worse, you have multiple credit cards that you may be using where you have personal and business transactions. And then at the end of the year, you've got to go through all of that or keep track of it by hand throughout the year. Either way, it's a lot more difficult than just having one bank account where you put all of your income for the business and pay all of your expenses for the business. So that's the golden rule. If you don't do that, then really nothing else that I have to say will save you too much time. But after you do that, I recommend that you keep your receipts using Dropbox. It is free and easy. You can scan on your phone. You can take a picture and it scans to a PDF, your receipt. I have a way of naming it so that it just organizes everything by date. And then in the name, you can say what you purchased or from where and the dollar amount. So receipts are really only there in case you get audited. And if you ever get audited, you don't want to have to go digging through some folder or trying to find it in some unorganized way. So I name it with year, month, day, who I purchased from, and the dollar amount. So if I ever need it, I don't even need to open anything.
Okay.
And so Dropbox can be free. I actually upgraded because I love it so much. I need the extra storage. I use it for everything. There's also ways on your phone where you can save an email receipt in the same folder.
That's what I do.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And people use Google Drive. It works. I just recommend that you put a system in place where you're keeping all of your receipts, paper and electronic, in one place and organizing it so that you can find it later.
Mm-hmm.
So that's tip 2. And tip 3 is really also very simple. It's to keep a daily journal or a log. And this is used mostly for miles, and because we have flawed memories, and even a week down the line, you won't remember what you did. I do have some tips on what you can do to figure out your miles if you haven't been tracking them, but my best tip for keeping it simple is to either keep an actual journal by your nightstand or in your car and just jot down what you did that day and where you went. It can take you 30 seconds daily instead of having to go through this process of trying to figure out what you did in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or I have a paper version. So I do this electronically, and I just have a spreadsheet that I created on Google Drive that I can edit on my phone. So when I go somewhere, as soon as I am done running that errand, I put it in the phone and it's logged and done. And the fourth thing sounds complicated, but I recommend that people use some sort of bookkeeping software. I actually really love Xero. It's my favorite.
Xero?
Yeah, Xero.
Okay.
It's with an X, Xero.
Okay.
QuickBooks definitely does the trick. QuickBooks has all of the features that I like. I just think that Xero is a little bit more intuitive for people who are non-accountants. And it's new and it's all cloud-based. QuickBooks is the main name, and they've been around for a long time. So they were not built in the cloud where Xero was. And Xero has a lot of great integrations, and they're coming out with more every day. So they integrate with PayPal very well. If you use PayPal in your business and you have a little bit of OCD like me and you want the breakout of what your sale was versus the fee versus sales tax if you're collecting it,
Mm-hmm.
then PayPal and Xero work so well together where those lines come in, and then you can create rules. So rules are my favorite part of bookkeeping software, and I think a lot of people don't use them, and they're so easy to set up so that if you have a lot of the same transactions, and I think most businesses do, they'll be on subscriptions or purchasing from the same places a lot, you can make a rule to where, as an example, if every time you go to Office Depot, it'll just put it to office supplies. So every month you can get in there and create rules until you're taking about 15 minutes a month to put in your bookkeeping. And if you have that separate bank account, you can link it. It'll put it all in there for you. The rules will do the work. You'll just look and say, correct, correct, correct. And then you can see what your profit or loss is. Whether, your sales minus your costs will give you what you're actually profiting, or you'll know what you're losing if you're in the startup phases, which is totally normal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. One thing that I do, I use Trello. So I think everyone has just like a different thing that works for them. I like
Yep.
Trello because I can just put like all my dates for us, because they ask us, how long were you in France? What travel, like exact travel dates. Like I remember the first time they asked me that and I was like, I don't know what day I came back. So I started keeping track of that stuff just so I was prepared the next time they asked me these very specific questions.
That's a good point about travel too, because sometimes you will, if you're doing a lot of work where you're physically crossing borders into different states, you may need to know how long you were in those states. That's a good point to bring up. So that would be a great thing to add to your log, however you do it. But for people who are doing nothing now, it's a real simple thing to just get a journal and put it down. But I do recommend, I don't love paper. I recommend doing anything electronically, however you can. So if Trello works, absolutely do it.
Cool. What could we do to get everything just under control? And if we made any mistakes, clean it up to prepare for the upcoming year?
I love that question because I am already in 2019 for some reason. I never do this. I actually used to think that New Year's resolutions were kind of silly because I would get annoyed with the flood on my feed of what everyone was going to do now that it's January 1st. Because to me, you wake up every morning that way and you can change your life anytime. But there's something different about it this year where I'm really excited for 2019 and I have goals in my business. And my goals for the people that I work with are for them to get organized on this side. So I'm all about that question right now. And I have a challenge that's coming up. It's starting on Monday. In 5 days, we're going to walk through these tips, how to implement them exactly. So some of it sounds easy. Open a separate bank account, but I get a lot of questions. What kind of account does it need to be? What happens when I need to fund the business because it's not profiting? Or what happens when I need to pay myself? So in the challenge, I'm going to walk through each day these steps and what you can do to implement it correctly today, and then exactly what to do if you haven't been doing it. So like I mentioned, if you're not keeping track of miles, I want you to still deduct miles, but I'll tell you exactly how you can do that. So there's just a few little things in the challenge. One day at a time, we'll walk you through it so that you can start your good habits right now, clean up the mess, and then you'll start January 1st ready to really own it this year, not waiting until April, and which turns into October always, but just starting those good habits now so that 2019 is the year you're never overwhelmed again, which is the name of the challenge, the Overwhelmed to Ownership Challenge.
And how can people sign up for that?
On my webpage, you can go to www.katieferro.com, and right up there at the top is the challenge, and you can click to sign up. The actual direct link is katieferro.com/p/challenge. That's a Kajabi thing.
That's a Kajabi thing. So we'll make sure to put that in the show notes on the podcast and in the Facebook description. And you spell Katie, Katie, Ferro, Ferro.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Cool. Why do you worry about today's entrepreneurs?
Great question too. Have a blog post all about it.
Do you?
And yeah. And what's funny is that, I talk about my sister and network marketing being the trigger, but really years ago when Uber first became available here and I sat in an Uber, I thought these people are self-employed and they're not making a ton of money. And I hope they're keeping track of their deductions because they might have a loss on their hands that they want to claim. But if they don't keep track of their deductions, they may end up with a big tax bill because Uber is going to give them a 1099 for every dollar of income they made. And that is what worries me about 2018, 19, this current age that we're living in. It's amazing that we can do things like just sign up and drive for Uber and make money on our own. It's amazing that we can go on Etsy and we have a platform where we can connect with people who want to buy. But now there is a paper trail for everything, whether you are organized or not. It is so easy for the government, if they decide to audit you, to get reports from Etsy, from your direct sales company, from Uber, or anything else, even your Stripe logs. Whether you're organized or not, the income is so easy to trace. So you have to do your job in keeping track of your deductions, or you're going to pay a lot more than you should. And all of this would come up under audit. So you can keep an idea in your head of what you spent, but if you can't back it up and you get audited, you're going to be in a really bad position because they're going to disallow the deductions that you can't verify, but they're going to charge you tax on the income, which they can easily verify. And then they're going to charge you the difference in tax that you should have paid when you filed, and they're going to tack on penalties and interest. And if you want somebody to help you with that audit, then you're going to have to pay a CPA to do that for you. And CPAs are not cheap. Mm-mm. And the worst thing is that this just accumulates. By the time they audit you, it's not going to be right now. You may get away with this for several years, and then they may open up a 3-year audit period, and you're going to have to pay this tax, penalties, and interest for a period of years. And it can be crippling. And that's why I worry so much about entrepreneurs today. You can take those deductions, but you just need to realize you have to report your income. So you have to be very diligent about tracking your expenses. That's awesome. The main reason I worry.
For sure.
There's no more cash businesses. Etsy replaces having a yard sale in your front yard of the things that you made. Then you could say, I'm losing money, so I'm not going to tell the IRS about this. They're never going to find out. It wouldn't be the right thing to do, but people could do this without being so easily found.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy. Any other mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making?
I think one of my hot ones right now is just when I get new clients, I always ask to see their tax return from the year before and I scan over it. And the things that CPAs do sometimes, I don't know. I would love to know what the reason is for some of it. And I think that it's not that CPAs are doing things that can get the clients in a little bit of trouble. I think it's that the person is not coming to the CPA early enough. So when the CPA is preparing the tax return, they're trying to make the bill as low as possible because it's high now and there's nothing that they can do to change what happened. So the big mistakes that I see for taxes are people being S corps if it doesn't benefit them. This happens a lot. If you're a very small business, I have an article about S corps too, because this stuff is, I may be losing people here and I don't want to. S corps can be powerful money saving tools. It is a way that you can choose to set up your business so that you can save money on taxes, essentially. I'll explain how all of that works in my blog post, which you can also find on my website under the blogs. But S corps, everyone talks about them. As soon as you become an entrepreneur, everyone is going to tell you that you should be an S corp because it can save you money, but they have a lot more things you need to do. So an S corp files its own tax return. Now you have to have a tax preparer. You can't go on TurboTax and fill out an S corp. And now your tax preparer is going to need to file a personal and business return for you. And that means more money in tax prep fees. Mm. The number one rule of S corps is if you are one, then your business has to pay you a salary, which doesn't mean that you pay yourself. It means that you actually file payroll tax returns and pay yourself on a paycheck. That also has fees. Whether you're going to do it yourself with a service like Gusto, which I highly recommend, think it's a great service, but even Gusto is a minimum of $45 a month. So you have a fee associated with paying yourself. You can save taxes, but those taxes often don't offset the requirements and the cost of being an S corp when you're not making a lot of money. So I see that, which just complicates your business and means you need a CPA to help you. And the other thing about S corps is when I get them, a lot of them are not paying themselves that salary. And it is the number one audit flag. And that is really easy for the IRS to do. They can just look at S corps and there's a line that says officer salary. They can run a little query or whatever they do to say, show me S corps with $0 in officer salary. You might get away with it for a year or two because if your business is not profiting, it's okay to not pay yourself. But eventually, if you do this year after year after year and you start profiting, you will find yourself in a position where you're likely to get audited and no one wants to be there. Yep. So I see it and I wonder, why did this accountant file an S corp return for you and not have you on payroll? But if you come to them in April of the following year and you didn't do payroll and you set yourself up as an S corp, they can't fix that when you're in the following year already. So you have to work regularly with a tax preparer if you're going to, CPAs, there's enrolled agents too, or just anyone who knows about taxes. If you're going to make a decision like structuring yourself as an S corp, you should go and meet with a CPA then. They will sit down, talk to you about whether or not it actually makes sense, and then they'll usually set you up for free. We did this at the firm. If somebody wanted to be an S corp, we would talk to them about whether or not it made sense, and then we would sit down and register with them so that it's all taken care of. I think a lot of people don't know that. They're likely to work with you and talk to you for free and help you. I think a lot of people do these things on their own, afraid of what the fee will be if they go to a CPA.
For sure. All right. What's the biggest struggle that you've had as an entrepreneur?
My struggles are not on this side of the business. My struggles have been maybe with like emotionally treating my business like a business.
Okay. How did you overcome that?
IBA.
So what's IVA and
The Impact Blogging Academy.
how has it helped you?
Just I think I had the pieces there, but it's like building a puzzle. Like they were all over the place and some were upside down. And I think I might have been missing a couple and I didn't know. I was trying to put this puzzle together, watching everybody else succeed in the online space. I was following you for months on every platform that I could find you on, trying to figure out how you were showing up on all of those platforms. And I was a Pin with Purpose student. I got that through a Facebook ad. And I think the reason I signed up was because originally my idea to educate entrepreneurs was through webinars. I thought I could sit in my office when my kids were asleep and get 10 people who just started selling for Rodan and Fields on a call, and I could walk them through what they needed to do. But as I was thinking webinar, I started seeing webinars because you know how iPhones are. You type webinar and now everyone's inviting me to a webinar on my sponsored feed. And they were all free. And I was wondering, how am I going to get anyone to pay for a webinar with me if these are all free? So I signed up through that. And then I saw what Pinterest could do for my business and I got really excited. But one of the things that excited me most about Pin with Purpose was that I was thinking I could probably model what you're doing with what I want to share.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure you out, following you everywhere, and I just couldn't quite figure it out. And I was making very small mistakes that had a big impact and questioning myself on areas I shouldn't have been questioning myself on, and definitely being stuck in a position where I wanted to finish something and have it be perfect before I shared it with anyone, which was, I think, my number one mistake.
Totally. So what are some of the changes that you've seen?
Confidence for sure.
Yeah.
And clarity, which is funny because those are the two things that I want to share with people that I'm working with. I want to give them confidence and clarity on the number side of their business. And I'm finding confidence and clarity with myself and my message.
That's awesome. And you launched your mini course.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I
That was
have
so
a,
exciting.
yeah, and it's not so much a mini course. I have a starter kit, which is something actually, if you enroll for the challenge, you get an offer to get my starter kit, which is normally $47 for $17. You'll see it on, oh no, that's not true. When you're in the challenge, you will get an offer running all week where you can get this starter kit that's normally $47 for $17. I launched that to my mini list and I sold 20, which was amazing because
That's crazy.
I had no list before IBA. I had no list. I have about 200 people on it now. And still I'm not quite at the point where I'm putting myself out as much as I intend to. Right now, I am working with like an intimate group of people as I see what works and doesn't, and I build. And then I have big plans for 2019
It's going to be
to
crazy.
shoot for the moon. I actually think I'm going to handwrite some podcast pitches to really get some attention and quote some of the things that, because there's this huge movement of women empowering women right now, right? And they all tell you the same things to like go for it and to not be afraid. So if I quote them with their line of telling me to go for it and I write it in hand and mail it to them, how can they ignore that, right? So
Totally.
that's one of my ideas. And but my idea is to really boost it for 2019. And so the fact that I sold 20 when I'm hardly putting myself out there right now was
That's
awesome.
crazy.
Yeah. And that starter kit leads to a different course on the basics of tax and accounting, like all the things that I'm talking about, the S Corp and self-employment tax. It'll break that all down so that you're going from A to B to C and it all makes sense. And I'm no longer speaking in French.
Awesome. Well, if I could understand it, but sometimes I feel like
Exactly.
you're speaking like gibberish or German or something. Oh man, what's the best book that you've read?
You know, I have to be honest, I don't read anywhere near as much as I should. I am a listener, and I think it's just because I am just like surrounded by chaos all day long. I have
You
these
are.
toddlers running around. I can hardly read a sentence, but I did skim through Go for No
Yeah.
several months ago. That was a very quick read. So I read that and that was good. I liked the message there. actually, I liked it a lot, to count how many no's you get, because if everyone's telling you yes, you're not asking enough people.
Oh
You're
yeah.
not shooting high enough if everyone's telling you yes. So I liked that message. And I did just order, what is it? Making a story.
Building a story brand.
Yeah, I ordered it. So that's coming and
Awesome.
I will read that too. And I am interested in reading the 12-week year.
Awesome. Get Audible so you get audiobooks.
Yeah, I've tried. I don't know what it is. I think it has to be in exactly the right tone for me to
It
listen. Otherwise, I
has to
start
be
kind
the
of tuning out.
it has to be the right person. So like
Yeah.
John Maxwell, bless his heart, I love him so much. I love his books, but like when he's on Audible and I'm listening to it, I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna fall asleep and I can't
Yeah.
listen. But if it's like Tony Robbins or Gary Vaynerchuk or Brendan Burchard, like they're so high energy that I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like I can totally listen to them.
And that's what I like about podcasts too, is that I can play them and they continue to play even when I close my screen and put it in my pocket, because that's how I listen. I'm on the go. And I need to be able to hear it and have it grab my attention more than whatever nonsense is going on in this house.
Totally, totally. What does it mean to you to make an impact?
I love it. I am I love impact. I've been using that word so much lately. It must be coming from you. But this decision of mine to start educating entrepreneurs, to start putting myself out there and having the conversations that are kind of uncomfortable on both sides. If it's me or Rachel, I'm waiting to see
It
what's
was
happening.
me. Sorry.
Okay.
My internet went out.
Okay. I wrapped up the question. I don't know what part you heard about the impact. I was just saying that in a nutshell, my desire to make an impact is to help other women succeed in their business so that they're just generally happier people who can be better members of society and live the life that they want.
Amazing. What is next for you?
Well, the challenge is
Yeah.
occupying all of my brain space. I'm really excited for it. I have it all ready to go. And I know that it will change so much for people who feel a little overwhelmed or like they're running in chaos. This is exactly what you need. I will be there holding your hand. I'm asking for two-way communication. I want to know where you're struggling so that I can help you work it out. And I don't know when I'm going to do this live again. So this is something I'm really excited about and can't wait to dive into next week.
So exciting. Okay, so tell us again where we can connect with you and sign up for the challenge.
Through my website, you can sign up for the challenge at www.katieferro.com. It's right up at the top. It'll invite you to the challenge. There's a button that you can click, and then you just need to tell me your name and email so that I can send you the information. If you're on Instagram, I'm always putting what I'm most currently working on there. So you can follow me on Instagram. In my bio is the link to register for the challenge as well. And that's at Orderly Accounting by Katie.
Awesome. Girlfriend, I am just so excited for your future and everything that you're doing. You are a rock star. We got some comments on Facebook. Kelly is excited for the challenge. Tara's excited too. Tiffany's signing up. Hey, you guys are going
Yay.
to love it. So sign up for Katie's challenge, invite your friends. It's going to be so, 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 so good.
Definitely invite your friends. I think, like I keep mentioning, this is the part of business that people don't want to talk about so much. And so I see people ask me, how do I find a CPA? Who do I work with in my business? And I tell them, don't you have people that you work closely with? A lot of people are in similar spaces. So if you're a photographer and you have another photographer friend, ask them who they use. And I mentioned this to someone, they said, I didn't even think to ask for a referral on that. And so this side of business, it's not the glamorous side. It's not going to get you likes or follows. I think that it can lead you to more sales, but not so much directly. So if you have an entrepreneurial friend and they just started, or even if they're a couple years in, invite them to this challenge, because even though they may look like they're killing it, they probably have some areas of improvement on the number side of things. And tell them that you're doing it, have them come with you, keep yourselves accountable, because if you show up every day for these 5 days, your business and your life are going to change for next year.
Amazing. Katie, you're just a rock star. It's so cool to see you just killing it in IBA. You have two little kids. You have no excuses. You're just like getting stuff done and helping so many people. So I'm so proud of you. And I can't wait to see all the people that you help with the challenge and going into next year. So keep on rocking. And thank you so much for sharing all of your tips with our tribe. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on. And thank you for everything in IBA. Without it, I honestly might have given up on this business by now. I had a little rough patch right around the time when IBA was starting, just in my personal life, and was thinking, which way do I go? It was like a fork. And I enrolled for IBA in the last, I want to say it was literally the last hour and a half before the doors closed. I was watching and thinking it was a pretty big investment for me. And then I thought, this could be the last investment in my business, but if I don't do this and I stop going for what I've been working on for 6+ months, then what? Like, this is probably the thing that will take my business from going here to going here. And it has been. It's done so much just for tiny little tweaks. And I can't thank you enough for all of that.
Oh, well, you've done the work. So I'm proud of you. Thanks for everything. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, girl.
Bye.
Okay.